This is Earthling Ed, and I discovered his channel fairly recently. I think he's got about the same sort of size audience as me as well. And I can only think Earthling comes from, that TV show Earthlings that Freely the Mad Vegan was going on about in my last debunked video. But I digress. Here he is, talking about animal rights and his views on them. So, let's hear what he's got to say for himself.
So the first point to consider is, if we look across the world and kind of generalize it, humans are majority kind of given their rights, aren't they? Or at least there's a consensus that humans do deserve rights.
I mean, if you go somewhere, you can always find a particular instance of like slavery, human slavery, things like that.
Yeah.
But in general, the general consensus is that humans deserve rights, whereas for animals, most people don't think they have moral value.
Yeah.
You know, like most people think it's okay to eat them and kill them.
So right off the bat, Earthling Ed is talking about the fact that he thinks that human beings are given rights, and his friend there is saying that there are exceptions like slavery, but generally speaking it's accepted that human beings should be given rights. Well, no human being was ever given a right. Human beings demanded a right, and then they fought for a right. You know, if you take slavery, for instance, the American Civil War was largely about ending slavery, one side wanting to, the other side not wanting to. Martin Luther King fought for civil rights for black people so they could have the same rights as white people. And the suffragettes, they fought for the right to vote for women. None of these people would have been given those rights by somebody just benevolently just saying, oh, just have some rights because you're a human being. No. These people were human beings who had the cognitive ability to understand what a right was and then demand it. Animals don't have that cognitive ability. That's why we call it animal welfare. But anyway, let's hear what they've got to say next.
So the same way that like 200 plus years ago, you had humans seen as property and as objects legally by the law, and we had to change that. Nowadays, the problem is, like, the mass consensus is that we have, animals as objects, and that shouldn't be the case, because if we use animals as objects and we treat them as property, then that means we can decide when they die, we can decide what we do to them.
Yeah.
Even though there are welfare laws, like, that doesn't mean, they should have that status in society.
So here he flippantly says, we used to have effectively slavery, that's what he's referring to, and that we had to change the laws. Well, no. Human beings fought for those rights for people. They saw that they had the same cognitive ability as they did, and they thought, well, I wouldn't want to be treated like that, therefore they shouldn't be treated like that. But these are animals. Animals aren't human beings. Animals don't have the same cognitive ability that we do. Mr. Pigeon isn't going to apply for a job at the bank when he's been given his freedom by all these vegans and go about his day and feed his family, is he? No. And, these people need to take some responsibility, because whether we eat meat or not, we have changed this environment just to grow the beans and pulses and whatever crap vegans eat. Land that would have been habitats for wild animals has been destroyed and removed. And there's new habitats that we've created, most notably pasture land for animals to be raised upon. That's why meat eating is good for the environment. It allows more biodiversity. If we got rid of all of that, the countryside would become a barren wasteland, effectively, and we'd have nothing but, a few crows and things. There's all sorts of animals that benefit from this. So there's nothing wrong with treating animals as property and as a commodity, because we have a duty to do that. We have a duty to the environment. But these people don't get this. It's anthropomorphism 101. It happens again and again and again. Anyway, let's hear what they've got to say next.
It comes down to this, really. Animal rights includes human rights. By giving animals basic privileges like the right to live a life free of oppression and pain and torture, we indirectly give these to humans as well, because not only because humans are animals, but by treating animals with respect changes our mindset. And if you can't hurt a pig or a chicken or a cow or any animal, then how could you hurt a human?
So here he is once again directly comparing human rights with animal rights, under the guise of us being basically the same and having the same cognitive ability. And of course we don't. And we all know what he means by these animal rights. These animals he says he cares about would become extinct. Domesticated pigs and cows and sheep and chickens aren't going to suddenly be running around in the countryside having a good time, because even if we wanted to do that, all the land will be ploughed over for agriculture to grow all the crap that he eats in the first place. It's showing a complete disregard for the effect he is having on the environment. It's ridiculous. And then there's a little bit of history that he should be aware of here, because he's saying that, like, you know, if you treat animals well, you'll treat humans well, and you won't harm human beings, and you'll respect their rights. Well, what about the Holocaust? Because Adolf Hitler was a vegetarian, and he still killed 6 million Jews, didn't he? And it's kind of indicative of this mindset, because if you do have this mindset that this Earthling Ed guy has, where you almost seek to force your worldview onto people and talk about your own worldview as if it's beyond an opinion, where it's an objective truth that everybody should be forced to adhere to, you are going down the road of a tyrannical mentality. Because I ask you, Earthling Ed, if you're watching this, what would you do if you had a vegan society where eating meat was illegal and people illegally started eating meat and, you know, didn't tolerate your viewpoint on that? What would you do to them? Well, I dread to think, really. As I said, I'm not going down the road of Godwin's law here and calling you a tyrannical dictator, but yeah, it does look like that to me. Anyway, I know this is another vegan video. By all means, if there's a video that somebody's done that you want me to talk about, put it in the comments and I'll take a look. But until then, I'm out.